Good morning and welcome to the show. This is In Touch, and I am Beth, Christy, your hostess. In Touch is our weekly half-hour public affairs show, which means that if you are a nonprofit group or organization here in the Hudson Valley, in Orange County, in Sullivan County, we'd love to have you on the show to talk about what is important to you. If you are a company here in the Hudson Valley or Orange and Sullivan County, then we too, if you're helping out a nonprofit group or organization, we'd love to have you on and talk about all of that. Let me tell you, it's pre-recorded. Any websites, phone numbers, Facebook, Twitter, whatever we may discuss, just know that we will have that up for you on whatever station you're listening to this morning on their website, on the post. So Brian Doyle has come back, which is great. He is here. You may remember he was here a few weeks ago talking about Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. Brian is the Chief Executive Officer at Family Services. So Brian, I didn't scare you off because you came back pretty soon. So that's good. So welcome once again.
Hello, Beth. Thank you for having me back.
Well, you know what? We talked a little bit about this before we turned the microphone on. You know, when we talked about Walk a Mile in Our Shoes, which I know you're going to give a recap, when you realize all that Family Services does and the amount of programs that are there, of helping people at various either stages in their life or when things may have happened to them or with them in their life, that there is someone to call, there's someone to talk to, there's a program, there's some help. And you realize how much you guys have going on. Number one, I don't know when you find the time to come and leave the building. I know you have a great staff, but I thought, you know what, you guys have to come back again to really talk about, I know we're not going to get to all the programs today, but to talk about other programs that you guys have going on. And I think that's very powerful. So thank you for doing that.
You bet. And again, thank you for having us. And as you said, Family Services provides numerous different types of services throughout Dutchess and Ulster counties, as a matter of fact. And they range from our after-school programs in the elementary schools in the City of Poughkeepsie School District, the Teen Resource Activity Center, which again focuses on teens in the City of Poughkeepsie, our domestic violence services and crime victims assistance services, which we're integrating, and I'll want to talk about that, our new Center for Victim Safety and Support. We operate the Child Care Center in Family Court, supervised visitation in Family Court as well. Our family education program works with families in Ulster County, strengthening them. So where there has been an instance of abuse or neglect, to prevent that from happening again, to make sure that the kids are okay and that the family is stronger going into the future. We're also responsible for the Ulster substance abuse prevention programs throughout Ulster County. And then back here in Dutchess County, we have the forensic services, which are a little known, but you know, just as we work with victims and support victims, we also work with perpetrators so that they will not reoffend, or our hope and our effort is to keep them from reoffending. I'm talking about people who have been convicted of sexual offenses and also people who have been deemed as being involved in domestic violence as a perpetrator. And again, we work very closely with the courts, with probation, in holding people accountable in that regard, whether it be through polygraph tests or electronic monitoring, high accountability programs in the forensics area. And that's a public safety program, again, to prevent recurrence of those offenses. But today, yes, I did want to talk about the Center for Victim Safety and Support. Over the last number of months, we've been having conversations and discussing how best we can provide services to victims. And as you may know, for years we've had the Crime Victims Assistance Program, working with people who have been victims of sexual assault or other crimes, robbery, assault, etc., and then also working with victims of domestic violence. And what we have found through the years is that oftentimes the victims of domestic violence also are eligible for assistance from crime victims meaning that we may be able to secure for them reimbursement for certain losses that they've suffered through the Office of Victim Services in Albany. So we've been looking at how best to make an effective approach to victim services, and we've decided to really integrate these programs so that staff are now cross-trained. We have a common shared database. We have staff who are more versatile in being able to attend to the specific needs of the individual. And again, what was formerly the Domestic Violence Services of Dutchess County and the Crime Victims Assistance Program have been merged into this new Center for Victim Safety and Support. We just unveiled that. We've notified our partners. We've talked to our funders, and as a matter of fact, have involved our funders in the formulation of this new victim Center for Victim Safety and Support.
You know, to me, when you say, the staff is cross-trained, you had individuals that were strong in both areas, in one specific area, and there are times when the two of them would have crossed, and you would have said, okay, you need to come over to this person, and then you kind of go, but we can figure out a way that they can keep it all one less phone call, one less individual type of a thing for the comfort of someone who's going through all this.
We're working with people who have been victimized, and so we want to make the services and supports that we provide as seamless as possible. So that, again, they're not having to make this phone call and then that phone call. We're able to have staff who are able to, because of their new knowledge, their new training, connect them exactly with the services that they need. And these are people who have been suffering maybe emotional or psychological or financial abuse, isolation, stalking. We spoke about that off camera or off mic. Physical violence, threatening or controlling behavior, dating violence or rape, incest, sexual abuse and molestation, harassment. We work with people who have been traumatized in one of these many ways. And quite frankly, Beth, I have to tell you, just last evening I was speaking to somebody who had been physically hurt by her, quotes, boyfriend. And in speaking to her, it became apparent once again, sometimes victims are not fully aware of the danger that they are in. And also not aware of the supports that they can get from staff who have been well-versed and well-trained in helping victims get through the system, helping victims in deciding what they need for themselves, and then also accessing services. Also, as you can well imagine, people who are victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, or other crimes, they may need help in the hospital. They may need help in the police station. They may need help in the courts. They may need ongoing counseling. And that's what we do. We provide all of that. I mentioned earlier in the courts, well, we have staff who are embedded in the DA's office and working very closely with the staff of the DA's office in, again, helping victims get through the system, helping victims acknowledge what their rights are in the criminal justice system, whether it be family court or criminal court. We also offer counseling, as I said earlier, to help people recognize and get through and recover from and hopefully thrive once again as they look to, put the trauma that they've suffered behind them to the extent that that's possible. We have terrific clinical staff and terrific advocates in the Center for Victim Safety and Support. And as a matter of fact, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but in a new partnership with the District Attorney's Office, Bill Grady, our DA, actually purchased a specially trained dog. His name is Bosch. Aww. And this dog is able to help victims, whether it be in the witness stand or in a clinical treatment setting. Wow. So the DA's office has purchased this, and they are using this wonderful dog, Bosch, to actually help a victim as they go through the system, as they are going through a quite intimidating system sometimes, to let them gain a sense of comfort. And the dog is wonderful in that way. And also we utilize Bosch in the treatment setting as well, allowing people to kind of get more comfortable, and then open up about what they're dealing with. As a matter of fact, I have to tell you, Bosch was at that recent Walk-A-Mile event that we had.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, and you really were very helpful in that, Beth. On October 3rd, we had a wonderful event down at All Sport Health and Fitness down in Fishkill, and we had nearly 300 people who came.
Oh, that's
and,
great.
And it was a fabulous event. The point of it was to raise awareness around domestic violence, sexual assault, and also to raise funds for family services, to benefit the many services that we provide to people. So, again, there were nearly 300 people there. We increased the net proceeds to around $31,000, and
That's great.
we're so thankful to our sponsors and the surrounding community for what they did. The sponsors included, of course, our leading sponsor throughout the year, which is Health Quest, and then, of course, the All Sport Health and Fitness, Mental Health America, Kirchhoff Consigli, Rhinebeck Bank, Town Square Media, of course, where we are today, the Southern Duchess News, and more. It was really a wonderful event, and we're thankful for the support that we received from the community. And it was a very eye-opening event, too. The County Executive, Marcus Molinaro, was there and spoke very eloquently about his commitment to helping victims of sexual assault and domestic violence. So it was really a terrific day, and we'll be doing it again next year. I think we have a date even, October 15th next year.
You guys are so ahead of the game.
Well, you got to plan ahead.
Yes. There's something that you said, the fact that you have staff members in the DA's office to help individuals. They have been the victim of a crime. They have had something happen to them, to their person, to their psyche, to their heart many times. And to have someone who can, even as simple as tell you what happens next, because you've had your life let me try this again in English. You find yourself in a situation that you may never have thought you would be in. Or, as you said, it's very intimidating. You're about to go on stand against someone whom you had trusted before and that is gone, or whatever the situation may be. It's a highly charged atmosphere in those rooms. To me, to have someone to say, okay, this is this step, and then this is this step, and then this is what this means, and this is what you can do, and here are your rights, and we can help you. Just to have someone who is not emotionally connected, you're not a family member, not a friend, to have someone who understands the system to guide you, to almost take your hand is to me would be very comforting at that particular moment, that you could maybe begin to feel yourself breathe again.
You're so right. And obviously, Beth, you have a high level of sensitivity to it, and, acknowledging just how difficult it is for someone who is in that circumstance and how they need support.
Yeah.
And, as much as we provide the support and advocacy, we really look to the victim to make decisions for themselves. Right. There are decisions that are up to them, in the case of sexual assault. Do they report it to law enforcement or do they not? And just helping them to see, okay, these are the options ahead of you, and these are the things you may want to consider as you make such a decision. So, we want them to be informed of, what their rights are, what the process is in law enforcement, and then protected from threats or intimidation from the suspect or from the suspect's family.
Yeah.
In the case of victims of domestic violence, as well as being embedded in the DA's office, we're also embedded in a number of police jurisdictions around the county. The City of Poughkeepsie Police, the Town of Poughkeepsie Police, the Sheriff's Office, the Beacon City Police, and the Hyde Park Police now. We have domestic abuse response team advocates who work very closely with the police who come upon an instance of domestic violence. And we then work with the individual in really helping them to define what level of threat is there for them.
Right.
We use nationally known instruments to do that, the lethality assessment, whereby we will just ask questions about, is there a gun in the house? Is the offender someone who is unemployed? Has he ever tried to choke you? These types of questions, all of which have been proven to really point to what the level of lethality is, and then working with the victim to help them develop a safety plan so that should they get to a point where they just have to leave, how are they going to do that? Do they have a certain amount of money put away? Do they know where they're going to go? How they're going to get to their sister's house in Pennsylvania? What will happen with the children? What can be done for the children? Where is that extra set of keys to the car? And many people ask, unfortunately, well, why doesn't somebody leave? Well, the fact is that many victims of domestic violence recognize quite clearly that the most dangerous point that they can be at is the point at which they decide to leave. Because that's where the abuser feels most out of control and will work sometimes violently to regain that control. So we'll work with these individuals, and the best thing about this, well, a couple of things. We have just fabulous staff who are so passionate in their advocacy and their support of victims. And also, it's wonderful to see someone who at one time was a victim, but today is a survivor, and someone who has found the strength within themselves, with some help perhaps, but have found the strength within themselves to regain their lives. Because oftentimes victimization means the loss of your life in many ways.
Yep. Now, recently, and I don't remember, I think maybe a month ago, a few weeks ago, I wrote on our websites the fact that now in Dutchess County, you can now text to 911 for individuals who may not be able to place the phone call because, as you said, if it's a domestic violence situation, they realize that they're in the most danger when they are making the decision to leave. And the reason I bring this up is, as you say, you have advocates in the Town of Poughkeepsie Police and Hyde Park Police and the sheriffs. So if someone texts 911, there is someone, obviously they're able to keep themselves safe, but notify someone else, and in all likely there's someone there that can help them in addition to the police.
And that's an important thing. It's another important tool, technological tool for victims who for one reason or another cannot pick up the phone, or and it may be because they're at a point of threat where they're just not able to because they would be otherwise detected by the abuser. Or perhaps they're hearing impaired or speech impaired and need to use the text. At the same time, though, we need to kind of find out more about that technology and find out the ways in which, if there are any, ways in which the actual texting and the record of the texting could be found by the abuser and thus used against the person. So, with every good tool, there are some potential downsides, and we need to keep up with the times and keep up with the technology so that we can best support victims, as something like this, texting 911 is made available to them.
And this is a prime example why I'm so glad that you are back and you're on the program, and we'll be back again. Is it's not only just the number of programs and services that you offer, but it's also what it is that you look at and say, okay, what do these victims and families and individuals need? What will keep them safe? What will open them up potentially to something else? And having someone in the community who is able to ask those questions to ascertain a better solution to something, or add on to something, as you said, is already good, but you kind of have to watch that. That's invaluable to me, someone living in a community that has an organization that is asking those questions and looking at those things. And
I'm glad you mentioned that, Beth, because as well as individual advocacy, we also are responsible for the Dutchess County's universal response to domestic violence. And Whitney Benura is the coordinator of that initiative. And that's where she convenes people from different professions and different disciplines. For instance, the DA's office, the police, the hospitals, probation, Grace Smith House, other providers, so that some of the systems issues that come up can be addressed in a way, in a coordinated way, in a comprehensive way. There may be, for instance, ways in which the laws, as they are written now, really run against the victim, and that's the table around which there can be discussions and advocacy about how can we change those laws. And I know there have been changes in the laws over the years. I know Senator Saland, for instance, when he was in office, was a very strong advocate. I know Sue Serino, Terry Gibson, Dee Dee Barrett have all been champions in this regard. And that's a big help, because there are some roadblocks that remain still within the systems and within within the community. I do want to mention our hotlines, because
I was going to ask that with the combining, are numbers changed or added or anything?
Well, it's interesting. Of course, we looked at every which way we could best make the Center for Victim Safety and Support effective. And one of the questions, of course, that occurs to you is, well, can we have one hotline? Well, unfortunately, we have numerous funders, and our funders at this point are saying, no, they need to be separate hotlines. So we do have hotlines for rape crisis and crime victims, and that hotline is 452-7272. That's 452-7272. And for domestic violence, our hotline is 485-5550. That's 485-5550. And those are 24/7 hotlines, so that no matter if you know someone or if you yourself are a victim, please, by all means, call one of those hotlines.
Okay, and I will have those numbers in the post, of which we'll write for this,
Terrific.
and include this interview in it, so that people can see them right then and there. I kind of wondered about that. Plus, these are the numbers that have been.
Oh, those are the same numbers that have been in existence.
And that's important,
They
so
remain,
that people say,
yep.
in case they have it in their phone or they have it someplace, you're still good.
Absolutely.
And that's powerful, too.
Yep.
That you already have that information. Whenever, I love how in this particular interview, you're talking about the combination of the services, and you talk about, the Center for Victim Safety and Support, and then you bring in about Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. And while you said it was for awareness, it's also to help raise funds, because any organization, it's not all getting, there's still bare patches, if you will. And to me, as someone in this community, you see all that Family Services does. You see the people that it can help. You see the programs. You see the thoughtfulness, the care, the training that goes into it. Events like Walk a Mile in Her Shoes and other events that will be coming up throughout the year. Kind of keep an eye open for those. Like, if you have a certain amount of money and that's what you have, then consider Family Services of repairing those little bare patches.
We really
it keeps the programs going.
So appreciate that support, and we need it because we have a variety of contracts with government entities, state, federal, county, but not all of those funds do not cover all of the expenses. They may not cover, for instance, staff development, or they may not cover administrative costs, such as our finance department that has to keep track of all those contracts, or human resources. So it's really important. We really rely on our donors to help fill those gaps, or, as you say, the bare patches. Another part of what we are doing is, Mark Molinaro announced this last year, and that is funding for the formation of a sexual assault response team. And we have been leading that. Sharon Doan has been leading that, along with Jen Herman, who will be the coordinator of the sexual assault response team. And again, that's getting people around the table. We're talking about the police jurisdictions, the hospitals, the college campuses, to get around the table to look at the ways in which this community can best respond to the issues of sexual assault. Because, the fact is that 1 in 3 women are cited as being sexually abused in their lifetime. And 50% of all sexual assaults occur while out on a date which is unimaginable in so many ways, but those are the facts. And even in the case of boys, 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before they turn 18. These are pretty harrowing facts.
Yes.
And these are some of the issues that, we as a community are approaching and want to strengthen the support, and we appreciate the support from our state funders and also from our partners in county government who are making this possible, helping us to address the issues of sexual assault. Meanwhile, in parallel with, in conjunction with the Center for Victim Safety and Support, I should mention that Leah Feldman is the director of the Center for Victim Safety and Support, and she's been a very strong advocate for a number of years, and will continue to lead this effort on behalf of Family Services.
You guys have quite a team.
I'm telling you, I feel very
team.
privileged to be working with such able and dedicated and expert professionals.
Yeah, all those, but like you said, there are individuals there that have been doing this for a long time, and that this is a calling, I would almost say, to be able to be there and to help out individuals that find themselves in this circumstance. It would be very difficult. I don't know, thank goodness we all have different strengths and weaknesses, because if we all had the same, we'd all be in a lot of trouble. So my hat is off to those individuals that can really sit there and help and listen, because I would probably be in tears on most days of dealing with that. My husband works for the county and works with youth services, and there are days when my heart breaks, although I don't know any specifics, obviously, with confidentiality, but you can tell when there's been a bad day, when something has happened, when there's been a child that has been involved, and, your heart breaks. And I think, I don't know, I had a song end 5 seconds early. I guess my day is not that bad. I think I'm good. So what I'm saying is my hat is off to those individuals that have dedicated themselves, that are there, that are well-trained, that are dedicated, that are sensitive, and that are there at Family Services, so that people, if you're listening this morning and you yourself need help, or you know of someone you think that might need help, there is someone there.
When you mention youth services and your husband's involvement in that is an area as well that we at Family Services are very attuned to. Mm-hmm. And that is primarily in the city of Poughkeepsie, where the Family Partnership Center is located and our offices are. We see so many kids who are in need, and I think particularly of our youth, the teenagers, middle and high school students, who are just at such risk because of whether it be poverty or having experienced violence in their neighborhood, yep, are at such risk and have suffered in many ways traumas that are so debilitating. And it means so much to these kids to have an adult mentor. And in our Teen Resource Activity Center, which is very sparsely funded, I have to tell you, we really work to provide that type of mentoring and adult male role models for these kids, who are, really good kids, but are at risk. And we just are trying to help them grow to be responsible individuals in the community and stay away from guns, stay away from gangs, stay away from crime. And fortunately, we see many successes there, and we hope to see more successes in the future. And again, that program is located in a huge program of ours, which is the Family Partnership Center, where we are owners and stewards for a wonderful nonprofit center where there are 20 programs and agencies all serving the community. And these programs and agencies are distinct from Family Services, although they are partners in service to us. They are partner tenants, if you will, and we look for ways in which to collaborate. And again, as it relates to youth services, we have 5 programs serving the youth in the Family Partnership Center. And I hope at some point we're able to come back and talk in more detail about those programs that are serving the youth of our community.
Mm-hmm. Brian, see, again, this is why you came back this time, and this is why you're going to need to come back again so that you can talk about even more and more. As we're wrapping up, we have about a minute and a half left. Any closing comments, final thoughts you'd like to leave with folks?
Well, I do want to extend thanks to the community for what they do for us, the donors, the businesses, the foundations that are so supportive of our work. And so thank you. And thank you to those people who just care and people who write a $10 check to Family Services. Those are very important, no matter what the form or amount of the support is. And I do want to just mention those hotlines again for rape crisis and crime, 452-7272, 452-7272. And for domestic violence, 485-5550. That is 485-5550. And then finally, just if you're interested in learning more about Family Services, just go to www.familyservicesny.org, and you can find out more about our many programs serving the community.
Brian, thank you very much for being here and taking the time out to talk with us and to continue that awareness and educating the community as the services that are out there. And I look forward to you coming back.
Thank you. You bet. Thank you so much, Beth.
You're more than welcome. And hopefully there's something from today that you have learned that you can take away with you. If you have any questions about anything we talked about, feel free to call me. Or if you would like to be on the program, here's how you can get a hold of me, 845-471-1500. My extension is 159. Email is beth.christy, CHRISTY, at townsquaremedia.com, also on Facebook and in various other social media outlets. So find me. We'd love to have you on the show. Take care of yourself and those you love, and we'll see you right here next week.